Durban is South Africa's busiest port, with the KwaZulu-Natal capital hosting the start of the first round of the 1998 Stanek National Rally Championship. Organised for the 40th time by the Natal Motorcycle and Car Club, the Stanek FML Tour Natal was given an impressive send-off from the Durban City Hall on a hot and muggy morning. Drum majorettes and Zulu dancers helped create a carnival atmosphere. A novel touch saw the cream of South African rally talent arrive at the start in rickshaws. Reigning South African rally champions Jannie Hubbig and Douglas Judd led the impressive parade after crews attended a welcoming function hosted by the Mayor of Durban, Councillor Obed Mhlaba. It was a carefree start to proceedings, but ahead of the crew was a tough start to the season.
This is the car we used for the whole of last year. We were supposed to get a new car from Germany. There was some delay along the way, so hopefully the car and the whole team from Volkswagen side will be ready for the second event, and I think that'll take a lot of pressure off us to just be able to concentrate on the driving and not worry too much about the preparation and the performance of the vehicle.
First car away was the Castrol Toyota of former champions Serge Damso and Vita Bonafide, but behind the scenes a lot of midnight oil had been burnt to get the car to the start.
The gearbox and the engine would not have been available for this event, so we had to go to plan B. Drag the museum car out of its covers, that was the 95 four-wheel drive car, and try and rebuild that quickly to the A8 specifications, which we've done, and there were a few problems, but I think the car will give a reasonable account of itself today. We'll have to wait and see.
Behind Damso and Bonafide, the rest of the field was flagged away at 1-minute intervals, with reigning champions Hubbig and Judd second away. They were followed by the Sasol Ford Escort of Paolo Piazzamosso and Nick Haddon, and the Team Total Toyota Conquest of Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley. The Italians were making their first appearance in Class A8 in the Toyota Conquest campaign last year by Damso and Bonafide. The opening special stage was a spectator-orientated affair around the Kings Park Sports Centre. Damso and Bonafide got off to a solid start and were equal third quickest with Paolo Piazzamosso and Nick Haddon in the Sasol Ford Escort. The Kings Park special stage was a combination of tar, dirt and grass, with a good crowd turning up to see the cream of South African rally talent in action. With Jannie Hubbig performing on home territory, the new South African champion was keen to start the season with a win. Hubbig and Judd started off on the right foot by taking the special stage by a 5-second margin. Paolo Piazzamosso and Nick Haddon looked spectacular in their first appearance in the new Sasol Ford Escort RS2000. The Class A8 car develops approximately 65 horsepower more than last year's A7 car. Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley lost valuable seconds in the Team Total Toyota Conquest when a faulty oil warning light forced them to take it easy, and they finished a disappointing 13th. There was a good start also for Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding. They grabbed the early lead in Class A7 in the Reeks towing VW Golf and set the second fastest time of the stage. Hogan Fecken comes from a rally family and is hugely talented, but a little early over-enthusiasm saw him flatten a small piece of Kings Park fauna and flora. No real harm done, while at the service point, technical crews were working on the problem that had cropped up with Lawrence and Paisley's car.
Our instrument panel is not calibrated properly, so the oil pressure is supposed to read 5 bar, but it's only reading 2 on the gauge, so it comes into the caution band and the light kept on flashing oil pressure. So we tapped off, and we've now just ascertained that we can just don't worry about it, as long as it doesn't go below 1, because it's not calibrated properly. So it's giving us wrong readings, so I hope that it's not going to blow up.
From Durban, crews headed up the north coast to Umdloti, the Umdloti Valley and Tongaat en route to a lunch stop in Dalton. After the lunch break, there were 4 scheduled special stages in the Dalton area before crews headed for Pietermaritzburg. In searing hot conditions, South African champions Jannie Hubbig and Douglas Judd set about stamping their authority on proceedings. On special stage 2, Hubbig and Judd took 4 seconds off Serge Damso and Vita Bonafide and 9 seconds off the Piazzamosso, Haddon and Lawrence and Paisley combinations. While Hubbig and Judd were in a hurry in the Stanbrick VW Golf, matters weren't going so well for Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding. They struggled through a large portion of the stage when a side shaft broke and they dropped 28 seconds to Hubbig and Judd. It was smoother going for Hogan Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the Danier Toyota Conquest. An early battle in Class A6 had developed between Hogan Fecken and Lukowitz and Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris in the Team Total Toyota Conquest, with the early advantage lying with the Danier team. An early battle had also developed in the Group N category between new Team Total pairing Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen in a Nissan Sentra. They were leading Class N3 ahead of fellow team total crews Gijs Klein and Carolyn Simmer, who were to disappear in Special Stage 4. Early overall leaders in the Group N category were Western Cape champions Duffy Murray and Donnie Duval, who were showing a good turn of speed in the Goodwood Auto Electric Toyota Corolla, running at the front of Class N2. A great deal is at stake for manufacturers in the Group N category, which produces some of the closest rallying in the Stanek Championship. Meanwhile, up at the service point, Jannie Hubbig and Douglas Judd had gone through a wake-up call.
Yeah, the first stage was nice. We put the quickest time there, but the second one, on the third corner, we gave ourselves a nice big scare. We went very wide on the loose and hit a berm, and then did a two-wheel stunt for a few meters, and that upset the rhythm. So we just couldn't get into the swing on the second stage. But I think the concentration is 100% now. I think we've woken up.
There was also plenty of activity around the Reeks Towing VW Golf, with Chart van der Walt anxiously watching his crew repairing the broken side shaft.
We had a fantastic first stage. We put in a really good time. We were the second fastest behind Jannie. Unfortunately, in the second stage, we broke a side shaft 1 or 2 kilometers from the end, so we lost a bit of time, but we're changing it now and it should be ready to go, and we'll hopefully make up the time that we lost.
6-time South African champions Serge Damso and Vita Bonafede weren't altogether happy with the suspension set up on the Castrol Toyota Conquest and were battling to get into a rhythm. Jannie Hubbig and Douglas Judd were still flying, with Paolo Piazzamosso and Nick Haddon also going well in the Sasol Ford Escort. A slight misunderstanding which saw them flatten a few sugarcane stalks cost them a couple of seconds on stage 3, but the Sasol Ford Escort crew were up into second place and going well. Only a matter of seconds separated the top 4 cars, with the Stanek FML Tour Natal shaping up to be a close fought affair. Behind the frontrunners, Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding were once again operational and involved in a close Class A7 battle with Pretoria University lecturer Barry Grobelaar and Mike Burrows in the Team Total VW Golf. The Team Total car was at a slight disadvantage, running an 8-valve motor as opposed to the 16-valve unit in the Van der Walt car. The Class A7 opposition was cut by 1 car when Krista Ackerman and Andre Pfeiffer retired their VW Golf with a blown head gasket after a promising start. Struggling without 5th and 6th gears on their Team Total Toyota Conquest, Lawrence and Paisley lost 10 seconds to Hubbig and Judd, who were now leading the rally. The battle in Class A6 was now in full swing, with only seconds separating Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the Danier Toyota Conquest, and Jean-Pierre Damso and Per Aris in the Team Total Conquest. Both Fecken and Damso have impressive rally pedigrees and are 2 of the exciting young talents starting to emerge in South African rallying. Natal regional champion Tony Ball, partnered by Alec Harris in the Bulver Park VW Golf, had moved into 5th place, with the pair thus far avoiding any problems. There were troubles looming for Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen in the Team Total car, forced into retirement at the end of stage 4 with a broken fuel pump. It was a hive of activity around the Class A 8 rookies Lawrence and Paisley's Team Total Conquest.
Just lost a bit of time on the last one. It was fairly fast and we couldn't get to 5th or 6th, so I stayed in 4th. Anyway, before that was going fine. We tied 1 stage with Paolo, so I'm happy. You know, I'm still learning the car, so it's coming right. Yeah.
Stage 5 was the toughest so far and also the longest at just under 20 kilometres. With the temperatures hovering in the mid-30s, it was tough going for crews, with the dust not making it any easier. Serge Damso and Vita Bonafede were not happy with the firm suspension set up on the Castrol Toyota Conquest and were under pressure from Piazzamosso and Nick Haddon in the Sasol Ford Escort. With Damso and Bonafede still unable to find their rhythm, South African champions Jannie Hubbig and Douglas Judd had reeled off 4 special stage wins in a row and were starting to consolidate their position at the front of the field. The Hubbig-Judd sequence of special stage wins was broken by Paolo Piazzamosso and Nick Haddon in the Sasol Ford Escort. They edged out the Stanbrick VW Golf by 3 seconds and were now only 1 second behind Damso and Bonafede. The Lawrence Paisley Team Total Conquest, in 4th overall, dropped 20 seconds to Piazzamosso as a result of a bout of fuel starvation and a muddied windscreen, which they couldn't clear when the windscreen washer bottle failed. In the Class A7 battle, Barry Grobelaar and Mike Burrows took 5 seconds off Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding. Duffy Murray and Donnie Duval were maintaining their impressive progress in the Class N2 Toyota Corolla, with the pair extending their lead in the Group N category. Murray and Duval were still being chased by Dean Sanders and Graham Hooper in the Team Total Toyota Conquest. frantic work on the Sassel Ford Escort, and for Paolo Piazzamosso, his win on Special Stage 5 came as something of a surprise.
Good stage. I was actually surprised. I thought we had a puncher, the tyres were going off, and it was a rather rough stage. The car took a bit of pounding, so it was to my delight and surprise when I found out that it was the quickest through there. My concern is that we have no starter, and the water is running quite hot, so we'll see how the day cools down if we can improve on that.
For Serge Damso and Vito Bonafede, the suspension settings on the Castrol Toyota Conquest were still a cause for concern.
We've had a bit of problem, and the stage was quite rough, so we can't, we've got a problem with suspension travel, and that's we lost a bit of time there, but we'll see, as long as we can just keep there, stay there.
Yanni Hubig and Douglas Judd regained the initiative on the shortest 6 stage, taking their 6th win of the day and extending their lead over Damso and Bonafede. This was another tough stage with a tight forest section which saw to it that crews earned their money. Race cam action supplies the evidence of that. Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding were maintaining their Class A7 lead in the Reeks towing VW Golf and had their sights on the Ball Harris A8 Golf, which was having a good run. Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz, delayed by an off on stage 5 where they lost over a minute, and the Class A6 lead, was pushing his Daner Toyota Conquest to the limit to catch new class leaders JP Damso and Pierre Aris in the team Total Conquest. Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper were also keeping up the pressure in the Class N2 battle, with Saunders being kept very busy at the wheel of his Conquest. The Marais Duval Corolla was still leading the Group N field, but Yaki and Lisa Joubert in their Jojo Tanks Nissan Sentra had benefited from the retirement of Cliff Blackman and were lying second in Class N3, behind Gijs Klein and Carolyn Simmers' team Total Golf. The rally cars provided a spectacular sight as the bumpy dirt road saw them flying through the air, with all 4 wheels off the ground on occasion. Nobody was more spectacular than top car publisher Doug Kemsley in the Automark Castrol Toyota Hilux, the only commercial vehicle in the event. After 7 stages, Fecken was closing in on class rival JP Damso.
Fecken, we've now completed 7 stages. You have a few problems.
We were actually going quite well, and then stage 5 I made a mistake and just put the left front wheel off the road, and we couldn't get the car out for about a minute and a half. So we lost a minute and a half on JP. I think we're 30 seconds behind him now. And we're trying to make it up before tonight so that we can lead A6 tomorrow.
The Toyota Hilux 1-tonner is a new breed of vehicle on the rally scene, and Doug Kemsley explains the new Bucky Challenge class.
Well, it's a project involving Toyota, Top Car, Automark, and Castrol. We're looking at bringing more interest to rallying by testing the fielding of 1-ton pickups as a relatively cheap form of rallying.
Serge Damso was much happier